Hey,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I sure can. Can you hear me?
Right on. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, man.
Not too much, dude. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no problem at all. It's nice. It's a nice Friday night just before maybe getting out and doing something, but we'll see. Everything's kind of locked down. So
Yeah. Where are you about?
I'm in Austin, Texas. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, it's seeing some skyrocketing numbers. So we're all hunkering down, but
Oh, really? Yeah, we're in San Diego, California, and we just saw like minutes ago there was just a tweet about Gavin Newsom, our governor, shutting down like the South Bay of San Diego again, stay-at-home orders because the numbers are going back up.
Yeah, it's a trend everywhere now. So
yeah, man. Well, dude, thanks, man, for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm not sure how familiar you are, but our podcast is about your journey in the music industry and like kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah.
So are you originally from Austin, Texas, or did you just ended up moving there?
I'm from Wisconsin. Played a lot in Milwaukee for a while before we ended up like touring and stuff. So mostly a Wisconsin Midwest kid, but Austin became the final destination.
Right on. Well, tell me about growing up in Wisconsin.
Yeah, just your typical Midwest story. You know, where the city's a rock skip away, but you pretty much kind of live in the country a little bit. So a lot of farms, rolling hills, that kind of stuff. Not a lot of not much of a music scene. You know, kind of ebbs and flows. Like who was it that came out of Wisconsin? I think it's the Bodines came out of there, and then
Violent Femmes, maybe.
Violent Femmes, yeah. And then Bon Iver.
Bon Iver's that. Okay.
So, and then there's definitely some, like the record company's a pretty big one now that came out of Wisconsin. So not too many bands that end up moving even on regionally and stuff and then to like national level. So it's a hard place to break music. That's for sure.
Sure. You said there's not a whole lot of places to play in the
There's
area.
a few good places in Milwaukee. There's a good place in Madison. The Rave is like my home base in Milwaukee. The owner, Leslie's like the sweetest human being ever. She's got the craziest stories. Like she's met Frank Sinatra, I believe, a few times. And like, she's best friends with Brendan Urie at Panic at the Disco. Like, she's got the stories. So
wow.
She would let us rehearse there before every tour for free and like would set us up with, hundreds of dollars worth of like just food and beverages in the back. And she's like, I'm going to take care of my one Wisconsin band. I'm going to take care of you guys.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah. What was the first instrument you learned how to play?
It was actually trumpet. Yeah. I was just talking about that today. Yeah. So trumpet to guitar and then just stuck with that one.
Was trumpet like a high school, or I mean, not high school, but like the elementary school orchestra type thing?
Yeah, and I stuck with it through high school, then from elementary school. Played baritone. It's like the same fingering and the same, if you read treble clef, it's like typically you read like euphonium or baritone and bass clef, but if you just transpose it, it's the same stuff as trumpet. So I never learned how to read bass clef until college. But yeah, it's pretty simple to just transfer it over. So I ended up with this gigantic baritone rather than trumpet. I don't know how I got convinced to do it, but
you got to lug that around instead of just the little trumpet.
And then there was marching band, and I was like, yeah, I'm not lugging this around. There's no way.
Oh, did you do the marching band, or you just stopped at that point?
No, I did. I ended up convincing them to let me be in like the pit. So they let me play guitar in the pit. And then they did all the songs like Kansas, Carry On My Wayward Son, and a bunch of cool rock songs. So it was like just super lucky that I had a cool band teacher. We're still friends today. We'll text all the time. So
really, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Did you go to college for music too?
I started off as a vocal performance major, like classical music. I like had an emphasis on like the Baroque period stuff. I loved I loved Brahms for one. It was a huge one. And yeah, it's just kind of something I gravitated towards. But then I was a big runner in college. So I was like, if I sacrifice this time I'm putting into music, I can't put it into track and field, and I had a scholarship for both. So I was like, I'm just going to go with running. So I just gave up on the vocal performance thing. But then I was like, I love making music on the side. And that's how like Vinyl Theater came to be. I was writing songs with them over Skype, kind of like how we're doing a Zoom right now. We just get done and try to like sync up and play stuff. It was terrible. But 10 years later, we had did as much as we did, which was cool.
Yeah. Wow. When you were in high school, did you have like a band in high school or anything aside from the orchestra and stuff?
Yeah, we had a band, but the acronym was NSA. Like when you break it down, it's National Security Agency. So why did we make it that? Like ours wasn't that, but it didn't make any sense at all, and everybody made fun of us. And it was a lot of fun though. You playing like grungy shows where like the orchestrators of the event like convinced the band, like, yeah, now you pay us $300 and go sell these tickets. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Yeah, that was my high school experience with bands. So
I remember they were doing that a lot in Los Angeles, where it's like if you didn't have $800, you weren't playing that night because you had to sell a certain amount of tickets and everything. Wow, that's so. So was Vinyl Theater like the first real like serious band you're a part of?
Yeah, so I had like a year left of eligibility and track and field, and that was really important to me. Mm-hmm. And I was coming off of like I was runner up at nationals in the 1500, which is like the metric mile.
Wow.
My coach was like, stick around, like don't leave, stick around for another year. And I was like, man, I just had this feeling I want to do music. And Nick and Chris, my bandmates at the time, they were like, yeah, if you move back, like we'll go all in with you and we'll do this. So I actually quit track and field. I dropped out of college. I went to serving tables at Chili's for a year. And then after that year, we got management with a company called Gold Firebird. I'm still with them. They've been awesome it's almost a decade of working together, it feels like.
Oh my gosh. How'd you link up with them?
They discovered us through, we won a competition to open up for 21 Pilots at some Battle of the Bands. And then one of the guys, Tom, one of my managers, went and just saw us and said, yeah, these guys are worth talking to. Mm-hmm. So signed us to that management like a couple of weeks later. And then the rest is kind of history. They pitched us to Fueled by Ramen a few months later. And they flew out to our basement, our basement practice area and watched us play in a basement and then picked us up.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Pretty crazy story.
Yeah. So when you went to college for you said you got a scholarship for your track and field, but you also had a scholarship for your vocal part of
for like vocal performance. It was a pretty small liberal arts school. So like, it's one of those things, if you apply for the scholarship, you'll probably get it. Like it wasn't a lot for vocal performance. It's just enough to like, hey, it's something, it's anything. I'm going out of state for college. So I'm going to owe an arm and a leg for the rest of my life to pay it back. So, but yeah, track was like my bread and butter. So
wow. Did you have to audition to get the scholarship, or you just kind of said, hey, I want to go into this as well?
Yeah, you have to send in a tape. So I always did musicals in high school. So I was Tony in West Side Story. So I sent in the whole tape and they were like, hey, this is pretty good. Like you should join this class and do all these theory classes. And so it kind of just went like that.
Wow. So. Wow. Well, okay. So how did you meet the guys from Vinyl Theory and how did you start writing together via Skype?
So I knew Chris, the keyboard player from cross country. He came up to me before a race and was like, hey, I'm going to kick your ass today. And I was like, oh, who is this guy, for one? Second of all, I'm just trying to go out there and run. I don't know what's going on. But then, fast forward, we ended up becoming fast friends.
Was that like in high school? When did you meet him? Okay.
Yeah, so like sophomore year of high school, then we started he would come over with this gigantic piano, like the biggest piano you'd ever, like, and the biggest keyboard you could bring over. And like we'd just jam and I'd record it into a loop station just with a 1/4-inch cable. And then I would record over that 4-minute loop all my guitar parts. So if you messed up, you had to wait 4 more minutes or just cancel it completely.
For it to come back around again.
Yeah. Oh my God. So yeah, that was that story. And then when I went off to college, we just kept writing music and then got the drummer Nick involved because they went to high school together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chris and you went to the same high school then, or just local high schools?
Yeah, local rival high schools kind of thing.
Rival high schools. Okay. And then you got the band going. Like you said, you guys got signed to Fueled by Ramen, but you won a Battle of the Bands. Was that kind of like the first show you had played? Like, how did you get into that Battle of the Bands?
Yeah, we were playing shows here and there, but they were all just, all the horror stories you can imagine. happened. Before we were Vinyl Theater, we named ourselves Alchemy, and of course you Google that and you get a bajillion metal bands. Well, there was a band in Wisconsin also named Alchemy that was a hard metal band, right? And this promoter of the show, it was like I can't remember the name of the bar even. It's just this grungy place in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. I mean, the absolute epitome of middle of nowhere. And they were all very nice, but they accidentally booked us. They thought we were a completely different Alchemy. So we get up there and we're playing our synth pop and synth rock, and I'm singing and no one's screaming, and they're going, "What the? These are the same guys we were trying to book." So then they admitted it to us later. They were just like, "Yeah, guys, like you were good, but like we were looking for a metal band named Alchemy. I think we messed up."
That's so funny.
But,
so that was one of the earlier shows, and then you got this Battle of the Bands, and that kind of just got the ball really rolling there for you guys.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of shows kind of like that. We played a show with Hippocampus in Minneapolis, like leading up to basically signing with Fueled by Ramen. So that one was interesting, kind of like just cross paths with those guys. And then we had, very separate trajectories of like different, like going to different sides of the genre, but they were really cool. But they were, I think like 16 or 17 when we played with them.
Wow.
They were so young.
But
yeah, that was quite a long time ago, 2013, I believe.
Yeah. Wow. What was the first thing you guys put out on Fueled by Ramen?
It was Breaking Up My Bones, the single. So then we put out an EP called Electrogram.
Okay, so Electrogram was the first with Fueled by Ramen.
Yep, yeah.
Wow, I remember Breaking Up My Bones. That was all over the radio, and it's a massive, massive song. My wife had it on her like thumbs up playlist from Spotify, like right when it pretty much when it came out, because we weren't hearing it on the radio yet, but when it came on, she was like, "Oh, I know that song."
Yeah.
So tell me, was that like a huge moment then for you guys? I mean, when you wrote Breaking Up My Bones, did you know that was going to be like a thing?
No clue. We had just finished another EP right before that, and I was just like, I mean, it's kind of not the smartest story ever, but what I did was I still had some classes I was taking at the UW Milwaukee at the time. And so I took out a bunch of student loans to be able to get through the semester. I couldn't afford anything. So I used like half my student loans to pay for that record. And so I've been I've had to pay all that back. But like I recorded that EP that had Breaking Up My Bones. And I was like, guys, we have to go back in the studio. They're like, we're broke. We can't. I'm like, I got this one. Worst decision ever. I recommend no one ever does that. But at the same time, it ended up in a signing with a major label. So like worst decision ever, but paid off. It's like gambling. It was a terrible decision. But yeah, I forced everybody into the studio. I'm like, this is the song. This is the one. These are the three songs. I promise you. And just lo and behold, Breaking Up My Bones was one of those few songs. And it did really well on SoundCloud. It had 1 million plays on SoundCloud before Fueled by Ramen picked this up. So that was kind of nuts. Yeah. I don't know what was going on. We were uploading a song every 2 weeks to a month from the EP that I was like, we're going to go record this. And each one was just skyrocketing in plays, and Breaking Up My Bones just happened to be the one that just took off. So I think maybe that's how we got a little bit of attention from them. They were like, oh, this is kind of proving to show some numbers. So.
Okay. So once that song was out before you had signed with Fueled by Ramen.
Yeah. So we had to take it down and then re-upload everything. And
so then they wanted that one because, okay, I got it.
Totally worth it though. Like, cause right after that, they're like, yeah, we're going to sign you guys and then you can go on tour with 21 Pilots. And we're like, okay, yeah, take our song. Oh,
yeah, right.
Let's go.
Wow. So you toured with 21 Pilots like right away. Well, they're on Fueled by Ramen too, right?
Yeah, they're like their flagship band now.
Yeah, totally.
Crazy.
Was that like, what year was that when you guys toured with them? Was that a Blurry Face?
Yeah, no, right before actually. So it was Quiet as Violent tour, which is 2014 era.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty
was
crazy.
Was that a crazy tour being on the road with them?
I think we were spoiled because you get out there and their fans are really accepting and they're like, okay, well this band, they like this band enough to take them on tour. Let's just support them on unyielding support. And we're like, oh my gosh, is this what it's like to get signed? It's like, no, this is what it's like to go tour for 21 Pilots. We quickly learned after that there aren't many tours that can replicate what they've built and like the level of fandom that they have. Just very, very accepting, cool people. So.
Did you say that was the first tour that you guys went on? Was it with 21 Pilots?
First ever tour. It was.
Whoa.
And it was with Mr. Wives. And then later we went back on tour with Mr. Wives. Those guys and Mandy are just awesome. Really, really nice people.
Wow. You guys got some really big tours then right away. That's really awesome.
Yeah, we were lucky. Small Pools 2 was another one. Those guys are great.
Oh, that's a great band. Yeah.
Mowgli's. Trying to think. There's quite a few. Magic Man. I don't know if you remember that band, but I really liked Magic Man. But they kind of like blew up and then kind of went away and then decided to disband. But man, they were good. They were really like taking off on Alt Nation and stuff. So
sure, I'll check them out. I'll check them out today for sure. That's cool. Wow. So like going on that first tour of 21 Pilots, were you seeing? That must have been pretty crazy. Like, what size rooms were you playing before? Were you like at stadiums after playing small shows like with 21 Pilots?
Yeah, the first show was the LC in Columbus, Ohio, which is like I think it's 4,000 to 5,000 cap.
And that's where they're from too, right?
2 nights back to back sold out. It was mind melting. They had like drones recording the footage and stuff, and it was just so insane. That was the first show of tour, was Columbus, and whoa. I was up there just like shaking in my little boots, just like I don't know if we can do this. But no, it was awesome. It was So from probably the biggest show we ever played was maybe 200 to 300 people to that.
Wow. You said you're shaking. It was nervous. You were nervous going out there.
Yeah, big time. I was really nervous. Plus, the whole label was like kind of at that first show, like all the A&R, all the reps, all the reps. Like, all right, well, let's see if this band has what it takes, kind of thing.
Sure, yeah, that could be a lot of pressure, right? The kind of the flagship band you're opening up for them. They've probably got all their label people there. Like, look at you're the new shiny toy, and you had to go out there and kind of prove yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. But
wow,
it was great.
Now you got your solo project.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we put out 2 records with Fueled By, and then put one out on our own and partnered up with 1RPM as a distribution company and like publishing as well. They're really cool. I knew Chris Allen over there, and we had met with him a few times. Really, really great company and people. But at the end of Vinyl Theater, I was kind of at the end of my rope there. We had gotten dropped by the label. I was kind of scrambling to find other work on top of music. So I got to the point where I was like, hey, like there's just not enough opportunity here for us to continue on as a band. And I feel like I need to make a move and kind of hit the reset button. So I moved out here to Austin, and I was like, I'm going to take a year off from shows. I didn't know that it was going to be longer than a year because of COVID, but
sure.
I'm going to take a full year off. I'm going to rebuild. I'm going to build a studio. I'm going to get the right people around me. And I'm going to just work on music for fun again, just for the love of it. Because touring like 15, 16 national tours, I was beat up. I was just tired, 5 years straight of that, and no stability, like going in and out of different apartments or back, if I was touring for 8 months out of the year, I'm sleeping at my parents, going back on the road. There was never really good cash flow coming in personally, and I think everybody in the band was affected by that. And our parents were like, yeah, we believe in you guys. Keep going for this. You'll hit it big. You'll make it work and be able to have a sustainable lifestyle. But I think a lot of bands are realizing, and people are realizing in general, with like streaming and all these other things, it's really, really hard to make it as a touring musician. And to do it on that like cusp of like, we've almost made it. But then you realize like, oh, it's just like right here, actually. Oh, it's here, like, you've never really, there's no made it moment. It's like these little tiny wins here and there. And you just build up a career doing that. So it takes a long time to learn that too, unfortunately. So
yeah. Because I'm sure when Breaking Up Your Bones just blew up, that you guys kind of, you'd think like, oh, like this is it. We're going to keep getting bigger and bigger. But you never know. You never know how it's going to work out for you.
Yeah, you have to ride the momentum. I actually had a random phone call. It was about half a year ago by a guy named Pryor Baird. He was on The Voice, and somehow, I don't know how, but somehow we're related. And he called me, and I had pretty much, I'd say I kind of gave up on music for a little bit there, and I wasn't really putting out songs. And he's just like, hey, no, your Aunt Carolyn wanted me to call you and just tell you to keep going. He's like, I'm, 38, 39 years old, and I thought I was never going to make it. And now me and Blake Shelton are like best buddies. He's like, so you just got to keep going. And when that momentum hits, don't let it go. He said, ride that momentum and give it everything you have, be fully invested in it, or else it's going to slip away from you. And that's what will happen, because it happened. He said it happened to me 5 times before I finally grasped onto it and said, I'm not letting go this time. Wow. So it's a pretty cool conversation, like out of the blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at, where it's like, I feel the momentum now. Like there's a lot of hype going on and a really great team around me. And I think it's time to just like ride the momentum and be all in. It feels good.
Do you feel like there's less pressure with it being yourself?
Yeah, I think there's more room to be myself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody else was in the way of that. I just think that the option is there to just make a song when I want, and there's no pressure or analytical, like there's no like dissecting of an idea anymore. It's just, hey, this is the idea. It just comes out. I'm just going to finish it. And it's like taking a canvas and being able to finish out the painting rather than have some other editor come in and go, well, what if we did this? And why don't we look at the perspective of other people when you're making this? It's like, I'm just going to focus on the art and just do it my way. So.
Yeah, and you can hear that in the songs that you're putting out, the solo stuff. Like I listened to all the ones that you put out, and they're definitely a different vibe than the Vinyl Theory stuff. Or Vinyl Theater stuff, sorry. The Vinyl Theater stuff.
It's definitely influenced by like more what I grew up on, you know what I mean? Like the John Mayer kind of stuff, all the way to like electronic and.
Yeah, I was going to say there's some electronic feel, like even like the newest one that you put out, Broken Heart, where I want to get to, that one has kind of like an R&B-ish vibe to me.
Yeah, actually that was Steven Pitzel sent me that track almost completely done. And when I heard the piano chords, I just started singing to it. And I was like, this is like the first verse of that was the first voice memo that I recorded. Like I had no idea what the lyrics were going to be. I had never I said those words out loud in that sequence, anything like that. I was just like, this is what I'm feeling. And I sent it back to Steve and he said, yeah, that's fire. Send me some vocals. So the track was all him. So that R&B vibe, I've teamed up with him and Timothy Wolf was his partner, and they're just awesome producers and writers. And that R&B comes from that label, N43 Records, and those guys. And they really let me take it and throw my like John Mayer-y vibe over the top of it, that R&B, like soulful feel. So
rad. So is that the first release you've put out on N43 Record?
Yeah, and they're a small Milwaukee-based label that's really starting to grow and get some traction. So we decided to partner up, and it's the first one, but we have like 4 or 5 almost finished. So I'm excited.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the earlier songs that you had out, like Just the Fool and even Demons, those were released prior to teaming up with N43.
Yeah, that was just stuff where I would just make a song in my bedroom, work with a couple of different producers and people I liked, and we were like, hey, I'm just going to throw this out. But now it's more of a calculated, like, hey, like we have a whole team. Let's go after this. This is really fun. Let's keep enjoying this as a team. So.
Cool. So this is it now. Yeah, you've got your team ready. You've put out Broken Heart, and then you've got more. You got another song coming out. What, in a week or so, or a couple days? Yeah,
there's like film and TV stuff that I have coming out. But I write a lot of stuff with a producer called Chris Cernell. He's got some really great credits, a Grammy nomination with Weezer. He's done some amazing stuff. So like he'll give me these prompts for movies and for film and TV and stuff. And so I'll write songs in that exact lane where it's like, hey, I need a song about this. And then I'll give him something back. And so that's been really cool. So we've been doing some side releases, which have really, honestly, like film and TV, I didn't realize this, and I don't know why I didn't want to write for it earlier, but it's completely changed my life, being able to focus on music full time, because there's a lot of companies that don't have that royalty, that music, on royalty-free sites, or can't pay John Mayer for a still like a man, but whatever the lyric is, but
right.
So they get somebody to write something similar or like with a similar vibe. So that's really helped to change my life. It's been nice.
Wow, that's cool. So you've been doing that quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I'll spend a ton of time. I was up till like 2 or 3 in the morning the other day trying to finish up something for an upcoming film. So I'm excited for that.
So that's rad. So it's just writing like for sync, kind of like trying to get different
Exactly.
syncs and stuff. Wow.
Exactly.
Like, have you ever got a prompt and you're like, oh, I already wrote a song 2 years ago that would kind of work for this? Does that ever happen? Or you just, everything just comes out as I'm going to start from scratch?
No, that's good. That's a really good question. Sometimes that works out where you're like, I have something in that vein when somebody sends you a prompt. But
Mhm.
I'd say typically, if you really want to get the placement, it comes down to just following the prompt pretty accurately, but being coy about it. Like, okay, so
Mhm.
they want these things. They want it to be about a dad and his kids and like giving them a better life than he had, right? So then you prod for more questions, like, okay, so what specifically is this movie about? Can you give me like a part of the script? And when you can find that out, it's like if you're clever enough, you can fit in these little lines that make the director go like, oh, okay, here's that aha moment. So if you can impress them with, it's really like your wit. It's not just the song being good. It's like you gotta figure out a way to finesse it so you're not just sing. You ever see the Dave Chappelle skit where Tupac
Oh,
is
yeah,
in the
yeah.
club and they're like, I wrote this
And
song a long time ago.
yeah, yeah,
Not like that, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna sing the exact
yeah.
script line.
Yeah, what's happening? And yeah, Dave Chappelle's like looking around.
Oh my god, that's the best one.
That's so
Yeah,
funny. Cool. So with just your solo stuff with Broken Heart, like that's gonna be part of what will become like an EP.
exactly. Yeah, so we're ramping up to an EP. Like I said, 4 or 5 done. So since so many are getting finished so quickly, it's like we might go for like a double EP eventually. But realistically, everybody knows that the game right now is singles. I'm not trying to let any track fall through the cracks of being like, oh, here's an EP and something gets forgotten. I'd love to give everything its due. It's give it its spotlight. So.
I heard somebody say, I can't remember exactly who it is right now, but somebody I'd interviewed in the past said they don't want to write album cuts. Like if somebody was like, "Oh, that's a good song," that'll be like an album cut, but it won't be like the single. So focusing on just stuff that you know is going to be a hit. It
Yeah,
seems like that's the game now.
it is, and I feel a part of me is like I can play the game, but man, is it tiring? It's like okay, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. If you can mix it up, that's a really great feeling. So
Yeah. With this quarantine, happening right now, was that was the quarantine happening when you wrote? I mean, when you released Broken Heart, or had it?
yeah, we released Broken Heart like a week or so ago, and yeah,
Oh yeah, so then definitely it was
we had written it, I think, just prior to it hitting. So
okay. Was there any like whatever a plan to not put it out and wait on it because of the quarantine, or how do you feel about releasing music right now with everybody kind of hanging out inside?
yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't really planning on touring too soon, like trying to ramp up the online hype for sure first and see like what we can do. But no, I feel like people definitely need music right now, so I
Hmm.
wasn't gonna delay it too much. The team and I went through that too. I mean, there were definitely days that were appropriate not to post, and there are days that were
Sure.
appropriate to give space for other things to have their spotlight as well, and
Hmm.
hopefully continue that spotlight. But with music, a lot of artists I feel like are still putting out stuff, which is good because I think we should always be creating, and I don't think that I don't think it's harmful to keep creating. I think it's a good thing. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Very cool. Have you been able to perform any of these songs just as a solo artist?
Yeah, we did a live stream to benefit artists in Milwaukee. This was a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now.
Hmm.
And I did a live stream of 3 different songs, Broken Heart being one of them. It was unreleased at the time, but it was kind of like showing that we're going to do some more together as M43 Records. So it was all put on by M43 Records. I think they raised almost $2,000 for local artists to help them out because, I mean, just right now, even just $100 to an unemployed artist in Milwaukee is going to do a lot. So we're trying to spread that love and make things work.
Rad. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. I had a great time, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be doing it again sometime.
Yeah, hopefully in person.
Yeah, that would be perfect. You have a. Is this your studio?
It's just my house. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just our little upstairs area. I got 2 kids. Their bedrooms are there, and then our room's there. So we just kind of set up a little thing here because we usually did all these interviews in person. Like if you were touring and playing wherever here in San Diego, we do it there. But
you go to the venues.
Yeah, usually. Awesome. Yeah. So the stay-at-home orders kind of threw a wrench and everything, but it's benefiting too because I can, we're talking now. I can see your SG in the background. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So
do you play guitar then?
A little bit. I mean, I'm not any good. I can play some power chords and stuff, and
that's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, I can play songs, but I'm not any. I wouldn't.
Look at Green Day. Good. Power chords and some great songs.
Right. Actually, Green Day was the first band I ever got. Like Dookie was the first record I ever owned, and
good.
That's why I wanted to play guitar, and just remembered like learning the whole album once I could figure out how to play chords and
yeah. That's awesome.
So, yeah, man. Well, I have one more question for you if you have time. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Man, that's a tough one. That's so tough. Because I've gone through I can keep going on, I've gone through all that. But yeah, I think just surround yourself with people who really genuinely have your best interests at mind, not even just music, but surround yourself with people who have your health at the core of their, what they want for you, not just music, not just touring, surround yourself with people who definitely love you for who you are and that will support you whether you keep doing music or not. So, and those people will usually push you to keep going as much as they can, but when you need that break, they're still going to be there and love you for you and not just the fact that you do music or things like that. So just surround yourself with a good team.